Can I be seen from here?
That's what I'm about to check and see. Yeah.
Where?
Well, this one. This is when
God, this light is bright in
I
my face.
know.
I need some shades on. And it still looks dark though when you're on the video.
Yeah, I just want to try to push myself further under the lights. But...
You don't need to do all that. That's nice.
Hey, 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 it is an unstoppable day. And you know, if it's Tuesday, it's got to be the Unstoppable Story Show. It's your boy, Terrance, the Unstoppable Coach Leftridge, and it is the love month on the Unstoppable Story Show. So I got my love with me, the one, the only Mrs. Unstoppable, Sharon Johnson Leftridge. How you guys doing this evening? Come on in, swipe and share. Hey, Tiana Ross, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the broadcast. Hey, you guys, you know, you could be anywhere else on a Tuesday night, especially this week.
Yes.
The Valentine's Day week, you're probably doing something, making plans for your special boo, putting those last minute things together so that you can just knock them off their feet 2 days from now. But I'm glad you decided to take a little bit of time to hang out here at the Unstoppable Story Show, where we talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories. And I am so appreciative that my boo is here. What?
I am here.
You are here. Thank you so
Cheers.
much. Happy Valentine's
Yes,
Day.
happy.
Yeah, we're going to get plenty of views on this one.
So silly.
And you know, it's important that we talk about love this month. And we've been talking about it all month on the Unstoppable Story Show, the different ways we express love, either in our careers or love for what we do. But, you know, it's Valentine's week, so we wanted to talk about love and relationships, and specifically love and marriage. Love and marriage. Love and marriage.
Goes together. Oh, I'm sorry. I was getting all into it and stuff.
I forgot the rest of the words. That's why she's my boo, because she's got the rest of it. She knew exactly what else to say.
Yes.
So we're talking about relationships, and we're talking about marriage, and no greater couple I can think of to really help us talk about love and marriage than our friends, the extraordinary everyday marriage duo. They've been doing it now for, I believe now, close to 19 years, almost
Woo-hoo!
20 years. They've been going strong, and they blessed me with the honor of helping them to tell their story a little over 2 years ago. And it turned out to be this phenomenal manuscript workbook that they call Do You Love Me Still? And that really, that question, when they first told me what the title, I was like, man, that is a powerful question.
Yes.
Because, you know, honey,
Yes.
when we first got married, the question of do you love me still?
Oh, Lord. I was like, no. No. No, God. No. Why, God? Sorry.
She's such a liar. So anyway, when you first get married, the still part isn't there. You know,
Right.
Yeah, I love him. I love him. I love his dirty drawers. I love her hair in rollers. I love how she puts the cream on her face at night and is all nice and
Stop
puffy in the
telling my
morning.
secrets.
I was just talking in general, not just you know. But then you get into that second year and the honeymoon's over, and then you get into the third and the fourth year, and there comes those times where you've got to take that refresher, and you've got to look back at your relationship for the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, and then that question comes:
Do you love me still? And there has been some lows. It's not always up on a high note.
No. And so what better guests to bring in to talk about that question about do you love me still and how you really manage this whole thing called marriage than the extraordinary everyday marriage duo themselves, Sean and Dorian Nash.
Hey, how y'all doing? Toast to y'all.
Toast to you all.
Toast to you too. Cheers. You know, Dorian always puts together a great program. And she told us right before we came on air that they were going to have a glass of wine. So I said, honey! And luckily, we just happened to have one in the refrigerator. And so, you know, we've got some romance red here. What you guys drinking?
We have some Stella Rosa red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Red is the theme tonight.
Okay, well, cool. Well, happy Valentine's Day, first and foremost. And as we like to always say, we thank you guys for so much for being a part of the broadcast tonight. Of course, you guys know that you definitely could be doing something else tonight with all the love y'all have. But so we thank you for spending time, just a little bit of time here on the Unstoppable Story Show. So why don't you take a second for those who haven't seen you before to just tell our audience who are the extraordinary everyday marriage duo.
You want me to start?
First.
Okay, so Sean and I, you're correct. We will be celebrating 19 years of marriage next week.
Next Tuesday.
Woohoo!
And yeah, that's quite an accomplishment, I would say, right?
Yeah.
19 in 19 on 19. So that's a lot. That's a lot. But once we decided, and we'll tell the story about how we got to actually writing the book, but it has definitely been a journey. We have learned so much through this process of discovery in writing this book together, and then being able to go out and talk to other couples and just hear their stories and then share some of our highs and lows. And as we were, trying to come up with who we are as a couple and what we learned through our journey, we are our audience. We are an everyday marriage duo. But just like when we say about being unstoppable, what makes us extraordinary is that we've been willing to put in the work into our marriage all these years and continue to do so. And that's kind of how we came up with the name, the Extraordinary Everyday Marriage Duo. I know we sound like we fight small crime, but in a way we kind of do, because we like to think that we are a voice or a resource for couples that have recently gotten married or considering marriage and may have some questions. And we think our book, Do You Love Me Still, is a great resource. We're not the end all and the be all to all of your marriage questions, but we definitely think that we have, like you said, we have a voice and can help assist you, because we're not doctors, but again, we have that experience, and that has made us experts in that way.
Well, we've done all different types of things. We've done therapy. We consulted with our friends. We've done church sessions. So what we found was that there wasn't just straightforward practical advice that just dealt with how you treat each other and how you get through, those tougher times. And speaking it in a normal day-to-day, everyday way. You got therapists who give you clinical terms and kind of almost medical speak, and you've got, the church kind of steeping it in, biblical terms, which doesn't necessarily fit every marriage. We just thought that we could provide, by opening up our lives, we could provide some practical advice for young couples, and even some couples who are, well within their marriage, but they're hitting some bumps, and they've got to learn how to navigate around those choppy seas. So, we thought it was just a great opportunity, and thanks to your help, obviously, coaching us through it, we just thought it was a great opportunity to offer a voice, a practical voice for couples out there.
Yep.
Well, I thank you. Like, as I said again, I thank you for the honor of allowing me to go along that journey with you towards making this book. But tell them real quickly, because it didn't always start out being you two and this book, right?
That's true.
No, it did not.
That's true.
So how did this book evolve?
So it definitely was an evolution. So initially, I was going to write this book with my brother. And early on, when he really saw that I was serious, so let me back up a little bit. I didn't see myself as a writer to begin with, but over time and years, people have said, "You should write a book. You should write a book." And even when I first met you, Terrance, you were trying to steer me in that direction. I was like, "What you talking about, Willis?" But it became apparent, it became more and more in my heart that I wanted, to pursue that. But I wanted to do it as a collaboration. So as I mentioned before, I initially talked to my brother about it. We had what I think is a unique story as brother and sister. But as we began our conversations, he said, "I'm not ready to deal with that." And I respected that. And, so I was talking to a dear friend of mine and sharing my disappointment and my brother pulling out. And then that dear friend and I, we'd been friends for, close to 30 years. And she said, "You know what, we should write the book together on friendship." And I said, "Oh my God, that's a great idea." So we started that process, pulled you into the mix, Terrance, and it fell apart. The first argument that we really had in 30 years. And, no love lost, we're fine now, but it just wasn't meant to be. And I was so disappointed, devastated in many ways. And I called Sean, and I was, that snot cry that you have sometimes. So I was so upset. And I remember Sean saying to me, "Sweetheart, it's going to be okay, even if we have to write the book together."
So, I had a little context to that because I was having a sandwich at the time that she called. I was luncheon, and she's crying, she's distraught, and I'm like, let's calm down. Let's.
I can't do anything.
I can't do anything from here, but we will figure it out. Even if we have to write the book together. And so by the time I got home, she had an outline ready. She started, tossing out title names, and I'm like, so I guess that even if turned into an even will.
We will be writing this book.
And so that began our journey into writing the book, and it was, there were a lot of different lessons learned from writing. Both we learned a lot about each other.
Well, I would even say that, and we share it in the book, there was that moment when you asked me, I said to you when we decided that we were going to move forward with the book together, I said to Sean, why didn't you, tell me that you were willing to write the book with me? And he said, "Well, babe, you never asked the brother." And I just felt like, oh my God, he's so right. But he is the perfect person that I should be writing this book with. And so even when sometimes in marriage, when we make mistakes, because that was definitely a mistake on my part to not even ask. I just assumed, and ladies and gentlemen, we know sometimes what happens when you assume. I assumed he would not, be interested in doing it. I didn't give him that option. And so that was the first lesson, stop assuming. And once we just got real with each other, it started to flow. And certainly it has, every time you're doing a book or a collaboration, it's going to have its peaks and its bumps in the road. But I can honestly say that it was the best decision that we made to do the book together.
We are talking to the authors of the book, Do You Love Me Still? Sean and Dorian Nash on the Unstoppable Story Show. Why don't you guys show them some love, show them some likes, show them some hearts. If you are watching it live, you know what you need to do. Just type in the number 1. And if you are watching the replay, just type in the number 2. We are talking about marriage and relationships during the Love Month on the Unstoppable Story Show. So as we are talking to the extraordinary everyday marriage duo, Sean and Dorian. Let me ask you a question, and I'm sure this is a question that a lot of relationships touch upon before they decide to get married, or even after they say "I do." And that question is, what stops most marriages from being unstoppable?
Ooh,
A
I'm
lot
gonna
of
let you take that thing.
different factors, really. I think first of all, I think we spend a lot of time comparing, all the people that we meet going forward, everything that we've done in the past without taking stock of ourselves, right? And being true to ourselves. And that's one of the first things that we talk about in our book in terms of, providing, a certain footing for yourself, learning what you really need in a relationship, knowing what, understanding the things that you absolutely need from your partner, setting that standard for yourself. And then, upping your game, so to speak, to meet the standard that you expect to partner with. And in that process, there needs to be a certain level of vulnerability. I think too often when patches get rough and we need to be vulnerable and show a little humility towards our partner, I think that's when we retract. I think that's when we fall back, and you see a lot of marriages end on stubbornness and pride, right? Because
I need my bell.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Right? I mean,
stubbornness and pride. Elaborate about that. Why do you think that?
Well, a lot of couples, you're not going to always remain the same over the course of a relationship. Right? The first 3 months is not going to look the same as the first year. It's not going to look the same as year 3, year 5, year 7. We change. Our bodies change. Our minds change. We've learned new things. We have new interests. We have new curiosities.
Yeah.
So, being stubbornly stuck in a certain way without having a flexibility and an openness does kind of stymie the partnership. It stymies your relationship. And then when you don't have the pride to be able to have forgiveness, say I'm sorry, to own, your own missteps in a relationship. Yeah. If you're always projecting, or you're always, taking triggers from your past and projecting it to your current partner, those are all elements of those are all elements of pride.
Yeah.
And I think they are very quick relationship killers.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add to that, David, we've seen over the course, that we've been fortunate enough to kind of go around, and we've had different speaking engagements and talk to other couples, and we've been able to, do a couple of marriage seminars, is just having that determination to stay together. I think there's a lot of relationships that I think they had some false expectations about what it takes to really have a long-term fulfilling relationship. And when they hit those first real, pressures, or those first things of a relationship that can test you, they don't have the tools necessary to deal with the test, and then somehow think that, well, maybe we're not meant to be together, or they get frustrated, or just say, let's just call it quits. And that's what has really hurt a lot of marriages, I think, is not having that determination that divorce is not an option. I'm not saying that people should never get divorced. Sometimes that is the best option, but it does seem that for a lot of people, it comes way too quickly.
Well, and I think that plays into having and laying the proper foundation.
Right.
Yeah. I think,
and that's definitely something that you guys talk about in the book, and that's definitely something we're going to talk about as we move along. And I like what you guys are talking about, especially, today, for a lot of different reasons, people are looking for the cookie cutter microwave solution. You find a mate, you fall in love, you get married, you live happily ever after, and they don't recognize everything that comes in between. One of my fellow speakers, he talks about bake it, don't microwave it. And that's saying that you've got to let the relationship run its course. You've got to let the ingredients come in together. You've got to put it in the oven. You've got to let it bake and let it become what it was meant to be, recognizing that even after you say I do, you have gotten married, but that's when the marriage begins. And I tell people that marriage is a noun for a reason and married is a verb for a reason, because staying married requires action. You can get married, but to stay married, you got to keep doing the things that you did for the person to say I do and that they love you and to get married to begin with, right?
Right.
Yeah, and you got to build on that, right? So that starts as your foundation. If you do it right, you should be able to show the level of commitment, protection, and advocacy for your partner that allows your partner to stand on your shoulders, right? You want your partner to lean on them, to lift them up when need be. You want your partner to be able to lean on you and be able to stand on your shoulders and have you prop them up without fear of falling, right? And that's when you have a good foundation. I think that's when you know you have a true advocate in your corner and you have a true partner.
Well, I mean, I think I want to quickly mention in our book that we focus on three things. We focus on the footing, the foundation, and the framework, because we liken a relationship to building a home. And so throughout the book, we use that analogy throughout the chapters to discuss why that's important, right? And so all the things you just said, Dave, in terms of our foundation, but even before you get to the foundation, you got to have the right footing for the house.
Right, as I mentioned earlier, you've got to have, you got to take ground. Right, you've got to break the ground. You got to take stock in yourself, and you've got to, plot out where you want to be. What kind of relationship do you want to have, and what works for you? And it's different for every individual. Right. Once you've chosen your plot and you started to, begin to plan what that home looks like, what that relationship house looks like, that's when you can start to, find your partner and begin building that foundation. But you can't do it without a floor plan. You can't do it without a blueprint. And so I think that's key.
Yeah.
And one of the things that as we were putting together this book, one of the things that you guys really stressed about that footing was the very second chapter. And that was the very first chapter, rather, which was talking about being true to yourself. Why is this so important before someone gets into a relationship or before someone gets into a marriage, that they are true to themselves?
Look, I say this: if you don't love and know who you are, then how would you expect your partner to know and love you in the capacity that you need? So it's really, really important that you are true to yourself in terms of who am I as an individual? Because a lot of times we talk about, it's 50% from this person and 50% from that person. And we believe wholeheartedly it's 100%. You bring your whole self into the relationship. Your partner should bring their whole self into the relationship. And so in doing so, you got to know who you are, what you're working with, to even find out if that other person jives with who you are as a person. Are they worthy to give your heart to them?
And I'll give you a perfect example. So I have a colleague who she's looking for love. She's single and she's still trying to find herself. And she started talking about having anxiety, right? But she didn't want to tell the potential boyfriend and interest that she has this anxiety.
I remember that.
She didn't want to talk about it. She wanted to hide it.
Yeah.
She wasn't being true to herself. She wasn't willing to be vulnerable to see if that potential partner could handle it.
Right.
Right. So when we talk about being true to yourself, it's also a certain level of vulnerability that's attached to that.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to show who you really are, because you want your potential partner or the person that you want to be in a relationship with. You want that person to see the real you and to love the real you, not the pretenses. Because as men, and you know this as much as I do, Terrance.
Yeah.
Your wife, you danced in front of her. You did all the things to woo her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you boom,
Dropped it down and made it hot, all that stuff.
All that, right? So, you know.
He dropped it like it was lukewarm.
Like it was lukewarm, right?
Hey. It was hot then. It's kind of mild right now.
Yeah, it's just on mild sauce right now.
Right.
So, I mean, but we do all these things and we go above and beyond and we to present our best foot forward, right? But that's not relationships. You're not always going to be able to put your best foot forward. Right. You're going to have obstacles. You're going to have trials and tribulations along the way. So you need to have that person outside of all the flash that you did in the first 3 months to get her to I do, right? I don't know, for the first couple of years or however long your courtship was. To get past that, you still have to deal with the real, the everyday, right? The things that you're going to see every day. The hey, you know, we might be short on a bill this month, or I just quit my job, you know.
Well, don't quit your job.
I mean, you know what I mean, right? So, you know.
Absolutely. We hear you, Sean. And you know what? That's what makes this couple the extraordinary everyday marriage duo, because every day they're working on being extraordinary. We've got an engaged lady in the feed. Arlene Collins is due to get married in March. She says you need to be single, whole, and complete 100%. Thank you so much, Arlene, for commenting in the chat room. Robert Brooker is listening to you guys, and he's saying absolutely to everything you guys are saying. Let's see. Tiana Ross, in speaking to what Sean was saying earlier about stability, she said that's a good one. So definitely, if you guys are watching, go ahead, continue to put your comments in the chat room, and we will put them up on the screen. Again, if you're watching us live, go ahead and put that 1 down there. If you're watching the replay, put the number 2, and we will definitely acknowledge you during the broadcast. So let's talk about, we were talking about the footing and the foundation, but the third one, the framework. Let's talk a little bit about why it's so important to have a framework in your marriage.
Well, so one thing that we know, again, when we comparing our marriage or our relationship to a home, most homes don't look the same. You may have a 2-story home, you may have a cottage, you may have a ranch. You may have a frame house. You may have a brick house. You may have a brick house. Anyway.
See, that's Valentine. Right?
Okay. Oh, she's a brick.
Right.
House. That's what you were looking for, right?
Whatever the case may be, it's not, and you said it earlier, babe, is to not compare your house to someone else's house. But you still got to have, but every house has electricity. Every house at least should have a furnace, drywall, paint, a roof. You have to have some essentials to call it a house. And so it's not about making sure that your house looks like someone else's cosmetically, but it should have certain things foundationally and part of that framework that is going to be able to keep the marriage and your home going long term.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes with, you know, having compassion for each other, right? You know, creating romance is bringing warmth into what you have built, right? That's adding the framework. I mean, how many people have shopped for a house and walked in and just knew, right, it's a perfectly fine house, right? But they knew it wasn't their home, right? It didn't have a certain element. It didn't have a certain feel to it. Well, your marital home is no different. It should have a certain feel to it. It should have a certain comfort to it. You know, and that's part of the framework that you build through compassion, through romance, through having forgiveness. Yeah. I think a lot of those factors is what brings, you know, what moves your relationship from just being a structure for everybody to see to something that you've invested in, right? Yeah. Something that makes it whole, something that brings warmth into that relationship. And people can see that when you show true compassion for one another, when you have the ability to show forgiveness, when you have the ability to show humility in order to be able to forgive.
Absolutely.
I think all of those things play into what makes a proper framework after you found yourself with your footing, you built your foundation as advocates for each other. But now you've got to learn how to communicate. Now you've got to learn how to have compassion for one another. Right. Now you've got to be able to make sure that the home fires are always burnt.
Yeah.
Right? Through romance.
Come on now.
Right? So
it is love month, right?
It is love month.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So all of those factors come into play.
I love it. And you know, when you walk into people's houses, you see those nice signs that are on the wall, either in the living room or in the kitchen, you know, the peace, the joy, the tranquility. And I think about that when I think about what you guys talk about with the framework. What are you bringing into your relationship, and what do you want your relationship to be known by? Do you want your relationship to be known as a peaceful relationship? Do you want it to be known as a relationship where when she's weak, I'm strong, and vice versa? Or we've talked, you and I have talked about the yin and the yang. You're the yin to Dorian's yang. And, you know, when Dorian has got 5 different things that she wants to get done and she wants to get them all done today, you're the person you're that voice of reason that doesn't always pull her in, but at least she listens to it.
Right?
I'm a toast you on that one. I'm a toast.
Here you go. But that's what makes the relationship work, because you guys know each other's rhythm. It's like a love song. It's like listening to your favorite song come on the radio, and you just know right then and there that, man, you can just warm up and get cozy with that song. And that's what I think about when I think about framework. But now working together, because this was, I dare say, one of the biggest projects you guys worked together on. So let me ask you and speak about yourself, and then speak about marriages in general. How is working together on this project or on any project enhanced or hampered your relationship?
Well, I will tell anybody, you want to learn about your spouse, write a book together.
Yeah, or do a long-term project. Right?
Yeah, do a long-term project. Maybe that's remodeling your house.
Yeah.
It could be a number of things, but you're going to learn some stuff. And when you were mentioning earlier about the music and the soundtrack, one thing we should mention: every title or chapter title is a song title, and so of a song that means something to us. And so literally, you have the soundtrack to our relationship, and it brought it home that much more, because again, we wanted to wrap that whole thing that this was our framework, this was our story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some of the songs some of the chapters, let's just throw them out there real quickly, and then Sean, I'll get your opinion on the same question. Of course, Lovely Day by Bill Withers, that's chapter 3. Just for Your Love, that's chapter 4. Forever in My Life, chapter 6. A House Is Not a Home, chapter 7. Man. And then, as we moved into the framework, I Apologize. Boy, have we had to sing that song a couple of times.
Yes.
And then You and I, among all the other 14 chapters that are in this book that created the rhythm for your love story that's lasted over 19 years and counting right now. But Sean, jump back in. How has this project been working together, and how has it hampered or how has it enhanced your relationship 2 years later?
So I'll start with how it hampered. Okay. Because I'm gonna get the bad out so I can get to the good. Okay, right? I mean,
it's real.
Eat your Brussels sprouts first so you can get to the steak, right?
All right, go ahead.
So I think there were a couple of times while we were writing where we came to loggerheads in terms of how we were trying to shape the chapter, and left some frosty nights, right? We had to put on a sweater a couple of nights, got a little chilly in the house, but
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course not. But
of course I know.
But I think overall, I think you relearned humility. because there were stories and perspectives within the stories that I didn't know about. I didn't know what her mindset was going through some of the things as we were narrating out the story, out the vignettes that we have as part of our chapters.
Yeah.
And so it made me have an appreciation and an awareness, a larger awareness for appreciating her perspective. So now as we look at and tackle different issues now, 2 years later, I start from her perspective rather than my own, right? And so it allows me to see a bigger picture in terms of how to respond. And as a result, my responses are met with a little less resistance and a little more listening. And I think when you go through a project, you're going to have those bumps, you're going to bump heads, but I think that the thing that you if you're doing it with certain, within a certain framework that you agree to, right? Because I think we did that.
Yeah.
You learn so much more about your partner. I mean, you are really, you almost relearn your partner.
I think that's a good thing.
Right. When you think you knew everything about your partner, now you can answer questions on the fly. I think one of the compliments that we always get is we seem to know each other so well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We seem to answer, we were able to answer each other's questions and finish each other's sentences, answer the questions. And I think part of that was as a result of writing this book and really digging into each other's perspectives. Because we talk, as you know, Terrance, we talk in our book, she tells her side of the story, and I do what he said on the same story.
Topic, yeah.
And we come together on how we took our different perspectives and still kept our unit together, our family unit together, as we were going through different issues. And what lessons did we learn from that, right? So, I think, going through a long-term project with your partner, if you're paying attention, it can teach you some significant lessons in terms of, how, what exactly makes your partner tick and how to support that.
Yeah. See,
I love it. We're talking to Sean and Dorian Nash, the authors of the book, Do You Love Me Still? Go ahead and get your copy of the book by going to their website, doyoulovemestill.com. So, as I said earlier, when you first mentioned the title to me, it was intriguing. But tell us, as now 2 years out with the book, you've done many different things, speaking engagements, radio show, stage play, which you can all talk about during this process. What has been the response from couples and people that you've encountered when they pick up the book? What kind of response have you gotten to this?
So
they laugh, they cry.
Right. They are appreciative that we went deep into our own lives and we got very personal about what we were going through, that we opened up in that way. A lot of folks that have given feedback to me were surprised that we were that open. They had never read something like that, right? Where we were providing our own experiences and really getting into, and it really got raw at times in terms of some of the emotions that we were going through. But, oftentimes I usually get, I really resonated with chapter 4, and this is what I'm going through, right? So they want to hear more about, how I dealt with certain situations and, what I think about their situations and talk about their approach in handling that situation.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I hear more questions about approach. They look at their own approach and say, I never thought of it that way. I never saw it that way. Or I didn't try that. Even on the radio show we did last night, after the show ended, we stayed for an extra half an hour.
We sure did.
Talking about how do I approach certain things. I got a lady friend and
our engineer. He had really
questions, right? And there were process questions. How do I process this? How should I better handle this? Because I didn't see it. I didn't see, her reaction. I only saw it in one perspective. I only saw it in one light. But now that you're talking to me, I see some things I can do differently. So can you kind of walk me through some of that stuff? So, it's been pretty positive, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Were you about to say?
I was just going to say, let's see if we can get into some trouble now. So, you know, this is Valentine's week, and you guys have been married for 19 years. Me and my wife, we've been married now going on 17 years. So
Okay.
Valentine's Day has always been a day of debate. Most men may not be strong enough to say that they think it's just a holiday that was created for women. So there are some women who say,
I hope you ducking after you say all this, right?
well, you see the chair's empty, right?
There's no shadows in the background.
But and this is going to be good because here's the thing. We decided in our relationship that Valentine's Day wasn't really that important. I thought it was very important. I'm like, okay, this is my woman. I'm thinking that she really is going to be into Valentine's Day because most women that I've been in relationship with really was into it. But it goes back to what you said earlier, Dorian, and then what you said later on, Sean, is that I assumed it. I never really came out and asked it. And then I had to now look at it from her point of view as opposed to mine, because I wanted to go all out. And she said to me for years at a time, and she'll probably come back before the show's over. She said to me for years at a time that I don't want anything for Valentine's Day. And you know what we men said. Yeah, okay. Let me not come in here without nothing on Valentine's Day and see. But it has held true. So we tend to express the love on those non-traditional days when no one is actually supposed to do it. But there's a big argument out there in the world about Valentine's Day. You're supposed to do something, and if you don't do something, you don't really love the person. What does the extraordinary everyday marriage duo say about Valentine's Day?
You see, I'm getting scrutiny right now, right?
I see that.
Did you see that?
Millions of people are watching, so we'll know where the body is.
Right. Let me wipe my brow real quick before I get into the But no,
I'm just sipping my wine.
I think to be honest with you, Terrance, I think it's a happy medium. I like to think of Valentine's Day as, it is don't get me wrong. So men out there, I'm talking to y'all, we get the short end of the stick most of the time on Valentine's Day. Okay, fair enough. But I think,
we got Sweetest Day.
Yeah, exactly. So
right. Yeah. What,
exactly.
Do you even know what day that is? Okay.
October 20th.
See what I mean? Like
she didn't even know.
Right. But
I just said it.
Right. But I think you can take Valentine's Day as a time to recalibrate. It's a time to check in. And however you do that, whether you want to get back to kind of a traditional romance of the chocolate and flowers, because maybe you've been busy, right? Maybe you've been working really, really hard. And I agree with the comment that was just made. Every day should be Valentine's Day. But practically speaking, due to technical difficulties, i.e. jobs, bills, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's, it's a Jack Daniels Day. That's my Valentine's Day.
But in some houses, that is Valentine's Day.
Right. Sometimes that is Valentine's Day for you, right? So, but I think it's a time to recalibrate. I think it's a good opportunity to check in with your partner to see where you're at, right?
Yeah.
And whether that's, checking in and doing a kind of a self-audit over dinner, over a movie, or just sitting at home, or however you do it, I think it's a good time to just say, to just ask, are we good? Or and kind of figure out, are there some things that, that I missed? If so, let me know now. Let's hash it out. Because I think Valentine's Day, if nothing else, is an opportunity is a day where you have an opportunity to be a little more open than normal. For whatever reason, because you've got it. I think so. I think you've got like you've already got kind of an overarching romantic air. If there's an opportunity for men to be more vulnerable, because we're supposed to be showing our romantic side, but at the same time, I think you can utilize that time to open up a little bit more engage kind of just where you are in the relationship, using that environment, right? Not to say get into an argument, but just checking in.
Yeah, please don't.
Right. But I'm checking in. I just want to recalibrate. Let's get back to that which made us fall in love. Let's kind of revisit that.
Get
right?
back to the basics. Yeah.
Right. Back to the basics. And that's different for everybody, right?
Well, I think we're fortunate because we have Valentine's and then our anniversary right after that.
I don't know if that's fortunate or if that's just.
Well, I think it's fortunate because we consider that we kind of, that's like love week. And
right.
So even if because we've gone back and forth, sometimes we do more on Valentine's but we tend to do more on our anniversary.
Yeah.
And so it kind of gives us, this, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but we kind of ease into it. So even if things aren't quite right on Valentine's,
you can spread it out.
You can spread it out. So
the anniversary gives me a mulligan, in other words. Is what we're really saying.
I don't know if I'm saying that, but
okay. Right. My bad. I didn't know you.
Yeah. You might want to move a little bit to your right. Yeah.
Right. Just let me just go ahead and
yeah.
And
see, you thought I was gonna get you in trouble.
Yeah, but I think it's I think you're right in terms of that we have our anniversary so close to Valentine's Day. Yeah. It allows us to take a longer look at our relationship and really focus on it because it's just a time to do that.
Yeah.
I got a double whammy because her birthday is right around Christmas, and then I got Valentine's Day and anniversary, and I can't come up short. I can't double down on any of those.
Well, I mean, your birthday is right near Father's Day, so
right. So we can't double down on any of those dates. So it's like it does make creativity gets a little tough towards the end, but I think you find ways to take that. We found it to take that time to on each day just do a little something to nudge us back to the comfort zone that the marriage has always been in. Get us back to, like I said, to recalibrate back to, okay, now we cooking with gas right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
you know what I hear, what I hear, and what you guys have organically brought together is that you have the ability to bring something personal to the both of you into a season, whether it's Valentine's Day or Father's Day or Christmas, that has been pretty much commercialized. And I say that to say the expectation commercially is to do something on Valentine's Day. The expectation is to do something commercially on Father's Day. The expectation is to do something commercially on Christmas during that holiday. But if you can tie it back into something that's personally happening in your life, like Sean's birthday or Dorian's birthday or your anniversary, now that gives it more substance and meaning in my life and in my mind. That's what I'm hearing. Do you kind of see that happening in your own life?
But I think we've also made a commitment to, and we're not perfect. We are a normal couple, right?
We are our audience.
Right, we are our audience in that respect. I think what makes us extraordinary is we do strive every day to those little things that makes us understand that we have that mutual respect for each other as well as the love for each other, that we are thinking of each other, that the decisions that I'm making, even when I'm apart from her, are with her in mind.
And our kids.
And our kids. So, we make a point of kissing each other goodbye each morning. We make a point of trying to call each other in the middle of the day. Or text, or just leave a voicemail saying, I'm thinking about you. I know you're busy. I know we talked about how busy your day is, but I just wanted to send you I love you.
Can I add to that just for a moment? So if I could say one thing with regard to, a tip for any relationship, one thing that Sean and I did early on was create what I call rules of engagement. And that means and it can be different for different couples. For us, there are certain things that we keep in our relationship that is just like we just do automatically. One of them is that we make sure that we kiss each other before we leave the house. And if by chance that one of us does leave the house without, we will text or call and say, hey, I miss kissing you, but have a great day. The other thing that's part of our rules of engagement is that we promise never to call each other out of our names. And that may seem like, well, that's an obvious, but in the heat of an argument, sometimes you could say something that you cannot take back. But if it's understood that we're never going to call each other other than Sean, Dorian, honey, or baby, then that helps keeps us honest with one another and how we talk to one another. I think those have been some really key factors in making sure that we keep those rules of engagement, and we've held onto them all 19 years. Right.
Or another rule is to not disparage each other in front of others.
Right.
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 So there's been plenty of times we've been out at social events, mad as hell. Right? Mad at each other, just absolutely aggravated. But everybody's like, you're the cutest couple. Because
and it's not about being fake.
It's not about being fake. It's just showing support for each other, knowing we have our groups, right? But we still. But
we don't have to bring everybody else into our fun.
Right. We still support each other. We both grew up in households where we, with siblings, and our parents were always, hey, you can have your arguments in the house, but you're a united front.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're outside, you protect
Team
each other.
Nash.
Right.
Team
Nash. You protect each other, right? Yeah. And so I think we brought that into the narrative.
Yeah.
Well,
and we'll say that to each other to remind each other. We'll say Team Nash to each other.
No, she says Team Nash when she wants me to agree with her.
All right. All the trade secrets coming out. But so we're coming down to the end of this, and this has been a great conversation, and you guys were getting a lot of feedback in the chat room. Robert Brooker is saying, if you think it's too small, that it doesn't matter. I beg to differ. It will matter and have great impact indeed. So definitely those little things are the things that matter most.
They build up.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for sharing it. So, you know what? You guys, you did this great book, and it has had some success, and it has spawned some different things for you as the extraordinary everyday marriage duo. And one of those things is this phenomenal radio show that Dorian does on Monday nights. Tell us a little bit about the Mic Check.
So the Mic Check is every Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, on the WBTCradio.com online, or you can download the app with WBTC Radio. And then we also stream it live every Monday on Facebook Live on my personal page. And then we also show it on our Do You Love Me Still page, my personal page, Dorian H. Nash, and then our Do You Love Me Still page. And of course, if you guys wanted to learn about our book or learn more about us, you can check out our website at doyoulovemestill.com. This past summer, I had the great honor to write and direct my 5th stage play called Couples Love, Truth, Secrets, and Love. It was loosely based on, I was writing the play while we were writing the book. I know.
Literally.
But I did. And so it was loosely based on some of the lessons that we learned about our own relationship, and then I tried to implement them in the play. The play is not about us, so I want to be clear, but it does have some practical things in terms of how we treat one another, and I wanted that to come across and be known in the play. Yeah, but her radio show is a kind of a hodgepodge of different topics, local artists. Yes. And we talk about relationships. Different interests, and infused with a level of spirituality as well. So it's a unique format that allows, kind of some creativity and some artistry, along with, kind of some faith-based healing infused in there. Oh my God. Yes. All what he just said, ditto.
That's why he's your yin to your yang. So definitely check out the Dorian H. Nash and her husband. He comes on there every now and then on the mic check Monday nights, WTVC radio.com, or go to her Facebook page where you can watch it live on Facebook. And definitely get your copy of the book, Do You Love Me Still? You can also go over to their website, doyoulovemestill.com, and get your copy of that book. Well, you guys, I love you guys, and Team Leftridge loves Team Nash.
Yes.
We thank you guys for allowing us to be a part of your journey, to be a part of your continuing story. And, you have blessed us and our marriage as a result of helping you write your book. And I know you're doing that very same thing for people all over the world. I mean, even on this broadcast, Robert has just said, thank you for this broadcast. It was a blessing to be here in the audience. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
You guys, before we let you go, is there any last words you want to share with couples regarding Do You Love Me Still?
So, we spend so many moments missing little things, little cues, so to speak, of our partner that help create what we call the soundtrack of our lives. Pay attention to those things. One of the visitors to the show tonight, said it best. It's the little things. They build up. If you notice those little things, and you take time to acknowledge and appreciate those little things, you will find yourself falling in love with your partner over and over again every day.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate goal in marriage, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, what you want to do is be able to answer yes to Do You Love Me Still? And so if you're thinking that way, you're striving that way, and you're looking from that perspective, then to be honest with you, marriage becomes an enjoyable journey rather than an arduous journey.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So definitely, we want to thank you guys for coming out, joining us on this broadcast tonight. And again, check out the book, Do You Love Me Still, by going over to their website, doyoulovemestill.com. And you get all the updated information about their other speaking engagements and where you can meet them and in person. The extraordinary, everyday marriage duo, Sean and Dorian Nash. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to put you back in the green room, but don't hang up, okay?
All right.
All right. So again, you guys go ahead and get your copy of the book, Do You Love Me Still, available at doyoulovemestill.com. It's a great read. It's a wonderful book. It will definitely bless you. And if you want to create rhythm in your relationship, in your marriage, and you want to have an unstoppable marriage, then this is the blueprint for you. Right, honey?
That's right.
So the Mrs. Unstoppable is back. What did you think about the show?
It was a great show. I was listening upstairs as I was preparing dinner. I had to finish dinner. So
brother gotta eat. Yeah.
Right. You see?
Right. This wasn't like this 17 years ago.
Yeah.
I was about $135 when we met. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Now add another one in front of it. But so we were talking about before when you went away, we were talking about different couples talk about treat Valentine's a different way.
Right.
And so I was telling them that I was the one who was always pushing to do something for Valentine's.
Right.
And what were you saying about that?
It's just Valentine's Day to me was just another day. And I am originally from New Jersey, and once I moved here to Chicago, there was something called Sweetest Day that I had no clue on what Sweetest Day was about. I didn't know. It was just another day. And I was informed that, it's a calendar thing in the Midwest. And I said, well, every day is Sweetest Day, just like Valentine's Day. So I don't
Okay.
know. I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
You know?
But we express love in different ways each and every
Absolutely.
day. And one of the
Yes.
I remember really one time we had this conversation. It was Valentine's Day, but we were also thinking about we wanted to travel. We wanted to go somewhere later on in the year. And we just decided that day, instead of spending the $200, $300 on the day, that we would invest that on a longer trip. And so that's how our Valentine's days are. You know,
Right.
we take trips, we do weekend getaways, and then
Yes.
that's more about us as opposed to about the day.
Right. I just, my thing is Valentine's Day, it's great. And as Sean was saying, it's good to refresh and rebuffer and, go back to basics.
Mhm.
And I agree with that. But we also did the same thing probably just Sunday, where we give back to basics. We discuss our goals. We discuss about, what our next move is going to be, where our next trip is going to be. And so that's why, the flowers, it's wonderful. It's great to get. I'm not going to complain. I'm not, but, it's just, they're flowers. I'm not, and they make me sneeze anyway.
and guys, here's a tip. Your significant other will love those flowers and
Yes.
those candies and those balloons even more when they're looking out on the balcony of a cruise ship in the Caribbean.
That's right.
That's all I'm going to say. Now, if you need help putting that cruise together, then you need to check out Sharon at SNL Vacations. SNL Vacations, if you are looking for scenic locales, if you are looking for no hassle customer service, and if you're looking to create that luxurious lifetime memory that you can only get on a vacation getaway, then check out SNL Vacations. Simply go to snlvacations.com. snlvacations.com. Sharon's waiting to help you create the exciting, exquisite, luxurious vacation of a lifetime.
Also, if you're interested, I do have some group space. If you're interested to traveling on Royal Caribbean, August 18th through the 25th, leaving out of San Juan, Puerto Rico. I do have some group space available if you're interested. For the balcony is about $1,039 per person. For the interior promenade, it is $739 per person. So if you're interested, feel free to contact me via email.
Right. You can go
check out my website.
Check out the website at SNL Vacations, and we'll also put the email address in the feed. Also, if you are in the Chicagoland area, on February 23rd, after you get done with your Valentine's, bring her out for another date. Bring her out to the Authors Read Literary Showcase on February 23rd. Myself has teamed up with the phenomenal Terra Poetry and Motion Cooks to showcase 10 authors from the Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana area. We're going to be talking about all types of stories, all types of books, and it's a free event. So bring your significant other out. If they love to read, if they love to be mesmerized by great storytelling, then this is the place for you to be. And also, if you are looking to get that book out of your head and out to the masses, just like Sean and Dorian did 2 years ago, then you need to be there so that you can network with myself and other like-minded authors so you can get that behind the scenes, what it takes to become an author. And who knows, you could be the next guest on the Unstoppable Story Show. So go to bit.ly/AuthorsRead, bit.ly/AuthorsRead to register for this free event on February 23rd, the Authors Read Literary Showcase. We look forward to seeing you there. All right, well, we're going to get up out of here because, again, it's Valentine's week in Team Leftridge house, too. So we're going to go eat and have some fellowship and have a good time. But we just want to thank you again for taking a little bit of time out of your Valentine's week to hang out with us on the Unstoppable Story Show, where we talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Okay.